Marlin Blakeney Q World Podcast. It is December and Christmas is around the corner, and I'm fortunate enough to get the time with my man Kyle Weems. Hey Kyle, welcome aboard. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
I don't think everybody knows, but Kyle is overseas, so we got quite a few hour difference. So, but he's taking the time during his busy schedule with basketball and to come to talk to us. Kyle, real quick, man, I want everybody to know that I've known you since KC area, because you were playing with LJ back in the day, during that recruiting process when you got to Missouri State, and obviously did well there. But it's just beautiful to see, how people progress and grow and get to where you are now, which many can't have tried, but weren't successfully able to do that. So I really want to let you know right now, I'm very proud of you. I've been following you a little bit and everything I can. Since you're in Europe, it's a little harder, but been following you. I want everybody to know that you came out as All-American in high school. You also played, obviously, AAU, did very well. You're recruited by several colleges. You chose Missouri State. Through that term, you were Missouri Valley Player of the Year. And from that, you progressed to go play in Europe, and you've had a lot of success there in Europe. You've become one of the MVPs of the league, and still moving forward and growing as you keep moving, man. So again, man, I appreciate you taking your time and showing us some love at Q World, and definitely want to just get you some flavor, man. Talk about yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about you as a child. Like, where were you at? Where were you born? Like, talk about how you were and who you were at that time and what evolved you to be where you are today.
Got you. First off, I'm the only child from Topeka, Kansas, the capital of Kansas. It's not too big, not too small, just not a ton going on there. I went to Ross Elementary, went to Eisenhower Middle School, all in the same triangle. Played for a big time, I like to call it a big time high school program in Highland Park. Ken Darting, in my opinion, one of the best high school coaches to ever come across the state of Kansas. And without him, none of this would be possible. He pushed me to the limit each and every day. He showed me what a work ethic really is, what it means to have a work ethic. And, he beat me down when I needed to be beat down, and he picked me up when he needed to pick me up. And, but overall, man, without him, none of the AAU stuff is possible. None of the college stuff is possible, and obviously not the pro stuff. So, got to give credit where it's due.
Well, I want to interrupt you, but I want everybody to understand that Topeka is really about 20 minutes from one of the greatest schools ever made in the history of the world, the University of Kansas. You're right down the street. But I don't think a lot of people understand, people think Kansas, like there's no place like home. The Wizard of Oz, it's all, goody-goody. But Topeka is actually a pretty darn tough place to grow up, my man. So talk about that how, what you had to overcome. And I mean, there's probably some temptations you had over there.
Oh, man, for sure. I was blessed with a great father who just recently passed away to lung cancer about a year ago. My mother's still living. They were, I appreciate that. They were the best parents in the world. They gave me tough love. They provided me with anything that I needed or that I wanted, but also at the same time had that good balance of making me earn stuff, not just giving it to me. And, they let me know that there's going to be those temptations that you talked about growing up. And, like you said, a lot of people don't know Topeka to be kind of, there's a rough part, there's a ghetto, whatever you want to call it, in every city in the States. And now that I've come over to Europe, it's over here too. But it's how you embrace that, and I like to think that I embraced that. Kept my nose, straight ahead. Kept my focus on the huge goal at hand, and that was my goal at that time, was to play basketball in college. It wasn't even necessarily Division I. It was pass my ACT, get the best grades I could get, and go play 4-year basketball. That was my goal. Whether it was D2, D1, didn't matter. And that kind of transitioned me into, like you said earlier in the shows with LJ. He gave me the opportunity to first play for Coach Woodbury, who is like another father to me. He's an uncle. He gave me tough love as well. So I played with him for a year, and then playing the 17 and under with LJ. And those two guys, again, with Coach Darting, just showed me what it was to work. Showed me, that I can play out here with anybody in the country. Anything is possible. Just you got to put the work behind it. And it's just a lot of miles on that turnpike driving down to practice at Olathe East or Grandview or Avila, and a lot of great times as well. So I'm definitely blessed to from where I've come from. I'll never forget where I come from, but blessed for the people that kind of got me up to that point.
No doubt, no doubt. And I love that, man. I agree with you. I think we all have our gifts and definitely the vision and the talent to get to where we want to. And most cases, I don't think anyone out there can say, I don't care how successful they are today, that they got there by themselves. You're exactly right, bro. You need somebody in your corner, somebody to help.
For sure.
On your path, I'm really curious because I think what I love to share and I want people to understand, like on the Q World podcast, is that, we all have our struggles and it's not always easy. Talk to me about, like, from high school, the success you had in high school. So how did you guys finish your senior year in high school? And then before that, when you got to 17 and under working with LJ, what was the process with that like? Did you have to try out, or what was that like? I mean,
Sure.
And then talk about your feelings. Like, were you nervous? Were you scared? I mean, was it,
Oh, man.
All that
So,
stuff.
Yeah, so to go off of what you said, I'll even back it up even a couple years from like that transition from going into my freshman year of high school. So I came off of a pretty established MAYB team at Topeka Jayhawks. We had Tyro Reed that played at Kansas. Caleb Dishman was 6'5" center that could shoot the three at the time. So we weren't traveling all over the world, but all over the country, but we were staying in the Midwest and competing at a high level. And we won the MAYB Nationals 7th and 8th grade. So the next phase was getting on the AAU circuit. And I was one of the only guys that didn't make the Kansas City Keys 9th grade team. And I still kind of hold a little, not really a grudge, but I feel like that was just part of my process. It was part of my growth, like you talked about. And it hurt. It hurt a lot because I had all these, and that's when I decided to not play any sports. That's when I decided to go all the chips on the table with basketball, and let's, no more baseball, no more football, no more none of that. And to see some of my childhood friends make that team, that traveling team, going to New Orleans, going to Virginia, going to Vegas, and me not be a part of that, it was just time. Either I could work or I could give up. Right. And I just decided to work. And that following summer is when LJ, called my dad and gave me that tryout at Blue Valley Northwest. Oh, wow. And it's crazy to kind of come full circle because now I own a home right down the street from Blue Valley Northwest. So, it's crazy kind of driving by to my workouts every day, seeing not really where it all started, but, kind of in the grand scheme of things where this thing kind of ramped up and I understood the possibilities that could come from the game of basketball. So definitely was nervous, man. I mean, Travis Rutherford at the time was the top ranked freshman in the country, highly touted. Mike Golston, Tyro Reed was already on the team. I mean, you had Brady Morningstar was there, Roger Pearson. I mean, Chris Allen. There was so many people that they were already on the team, but the tryout in itself was about 50 people. And I knew it was going to be a long shot, but I just competed and just played the game the right way, like my dad taught me. And they decided to keep me on. And without that opportunity, man, a lot of these doors will not be open. So I'm forever grateful for LJ for that opportunity. I still keep in touch with him and his family to this day. And I try and pop into one of his practices before they get going. Obviously, with the pandemic last summer, I wasn't able to do that. But it's something that myself, my good friend Dominique Morrison, we're forever grateful for Coach Woodbury and with LJ, that opportunity that they gave us.
You may know this, you may not, but LJ and Coach Wood are back together again, man.
Back together, man. It's a beautiful thing. Again, kind of that full circle, that circle of life. Yeah. Kind of never know where the wind's gonna blow you, and that's kind of a brotherhood that can never be broken. And that's something I feel is great. Coach Wood did a great job at 3 or 4 different schools. LJ's been doing his thing with Run GMC now, and to see them back together and see Coach Wood back in the Midwest, man, I'm looking forward to seeing him this summer.
No doubt. Yeah, I just talked to him a couple weeks ago. He's actually helping us a little bit on the Q Sports side as we're trying to help athletes build their brand. So he's got some things that he's putting together for me to help out a little bit. So, but no, like you said, just great guys though in general.
Man,
let's talk about. So you got Run GMC now. We good. We going. We popping. You got skills because you was breaking ankles and when you saw that, what opportunity did you have? Like, first of all, what opportunities did you have to go to school? Like, what schools were started looking at you?
So it started to just kind of, I guess you want to call it plateau. Like, I got some letters, and then, Wichita State was real interested when Mark Turgeon was there. And it wasn't really a dream school, but I went on a couple unofficials there. And, that's when they were really taking that next step as a program. They were starting to get into the tournament. And then they went to the Sweet 16, and Turgeon got the job at Texas A&M, and that kind of fell through the wayside, and that's okay. I knew things were getting serious when I started getting phone calls from schools that didn't even send me an email, but just were calling to offer me a scholarship. And it wasn't any big-time BCS, Arkansas State, Furman, Arkansas, Little Rock, places like that. But got offers from Illinois State, Indiana State, Santa Clara, Kent State, obviously Missouri State, and a couple other bigger schools. Wisconsin and Nebraska came in late, but it wasn't anything that I was interested in because I understood kind of what the process was about. My man Coach Wood was already at Missouri State. I played for him. I felt comfortable with him. Right. Missouri State was pretty much right down the road for my parents to be able to see my games as much as they could. And the Missouri Valley at that time was the top 7 or 8 conference in the country. So it just made sense. It had all the right feelings. And, that recruiting process was definitely crazy. But I'm glad that I decided to go where I went.
Right. So when you chose Missouri State, let's talk about, because that's one thing I think I want athletes to understand. Like, I don't know if it's a right or wrong. I can't say that, but you got to go where you believe fits you best, right? You know what I'm saying, to where you want to be, or your style of play or whatever. Talk about just talk about the challenges though, man. The day-to-day grind and understanding the pressures of that, you're picking a college. Like, how was that? Was that like?
It was difficult because I'm a people person. I like to think that I'm liked by everybody that I bump heads with or that I cross paths with. It's something that I really take pride in. Obviously everybody probably does, but nobody wants to be hated or that guy's cocky or that guy's arrogant. I like to think that I'm liked by the people that I speak with or that I come across. And for me to have to tell some of those colleges no, man, it was some of the toughest things that I ever had to do, especially being so young at the time, 17 years old. I never had to call this guy who's dependent on me to come there to try and help him win games and let him know, sorry, but, thanks for your interest, but sorry, I got to go over here. And that was tough. That helped me grow up pretty quick. And, to do that to not just one coach or set of coaches, I had to do it to 4 or 5. And it's something that my dad made me step up to the plate and do because he felt like that was important to give those guys the respect, especially after they spent all those, year and a half to 2 years of their time recruiting me and coming to see me and watch me play at this tournament and this high school game in Leavenworth or Kansas City, Kansas, all these different places. So that kind of helped me grow up pretty quick. But, other than that, just the whole process, the answering calls, back then text messaging wasn't so big with college coaches, but the phone calls, the keeping up with the mail, the coaches coming in to watch practice, it kind of got exhausting at times. That's why I was glad that I ended up signing so early in that first national period.
Yeah, I agree. And, a lot of kids are going to go through that. Obviously more challenging times today, but I mean, what advice do you have for the high school athletes right now that are going to go through the same process or are going through that same process? I mean, what would you tell them as far as just their ideas of being successful in the recruiting and finding the right place for them, the right home?
Well, first things first, get that ACT or that SAT out of the way. Get it out of the way so then that's not a factor coming, that senior year or even late in that junior year. I was able to pass my ACT with the score that I needed early on in my junior year. So I had that whole year, one more summer to play AAU and then obviously choose where I wanted to go and not have to deal with that side of it. But as far as actually choosing the school, just embrace it, just embrace it. There's a lot of people out there that would love for, schools to be drooling over them, schools to be calling them, getting, I don't know how many shoe boxes of mail that I had. My mom was trying to ask me, did I want that stuff out of her attic this summer? I'm like, Mom, you can get rid of that.
Right.
But it was really fun to go through. So just embrace it. Just embrace it because it's honestly a once in a lifetime opportunity. And don't just, oh, this is a questionnaire, let me fill it out real quick. No, really sit there and take your time because it's an important, decision. And any and every little thing that you do, any and every little thing that you read could play a big part in where you end up going and how your career could end, or your career could end up. And so just embrace it, man, and hit it head on.
Right. Was there any, as far as your senior year, was there any schools like I think everyone goes out, like I'm not gonna lie to you, we're all athletes. I mean, everyone thinks they should be able to should have been recruited by this school or that school, or or kind of get a bad taste in your mouth. Oh, they didn't even reach out, like really? Those
no, for
like,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna just keep it 100. KU.
Yeah, I don't say.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not sure if I was ready for that level coming out of high school, but I didn't get a questionnaire.
Right.
I couldn't get in the database, and that was just like, well, but it's okay. That's one thing that my mom and dad, drilled in me from day one is everybody has their own paths. You're not like this person, that person's not like this person. You can't watch the next guy. So just worry about what your path is, focus on yourself and try your best, and whatever comes from that, keep going. And I would like to think that I did that. And then obviously, again, the full circle thing, you'll probably hear me say that 2 or 3 more times the rest of this interview is once Coach Martin and got that job at Tennessee, and I had the chance to graduate at the end of my junior year. Now KU is offering me a scholarship to come play there as a graduate senior, So it's just funny how some of those things come back around. But, I decided to stay loyal and stay Missouri State because
I didn't know that. That's good stuff. So let's go back.
Yeah. No, it was like a whole nother recruitment process that opened back up. It was
that's right because
I only had
when a coach leaves, you get an opportunity. Yes. Oh, I got you now.
If at that time, if I were to graduate in that summer, so I could have took, I think it was 3 classes that summer, graduated by August, and then enrolled at Kansas or Kansas State or Oregon at the time, places like this. But my man Wood stayed. I slowed down my graduation. My girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, Jackie, was still there. She was just finishing up. So 2 of my best friends moved down to Springfield. That was my home. That was my home. That was my second home. So it wasn't anything that I was willing to leave. And I still had a goal of trying to get to the NCAA tournament, which I didn't end up getting, fulfilling that goal. But at the time, that was what I wanted.
You guys came close though on that one. I think actually you guys should have got in. It didn't make no sense.
I know it.
But anyway, let's go back to, so you chose Missouri State. We know that. Mm-hmm. I think you got there what year was that for Conzo Marcus?
That would have been,
we now know is Missouri, the Mizzou head coach right now for in Columbia, Missouri. So, but he was there at Missouri State at that time. Yeah.
Yep. So I got there summer of 2007, and I redshirted. We had 5 fifth-year seniors with Barry Henson.
Yeah.
So that was Wood's second or third year with Barry. And then obviously we didn't do good. I think we finished 500 or one game above 500. Obviously I just practiced, went to school, and got that year back. But they let Coach Henson go. So that was a real nerve-wracking time because obviously I know my man Wood has my best interest. That's a big reason why I went there. But now is he going to stay? But I remember Coach Martin and Coach Wood calling me once Coach Martin got the job and just both letting me know, like, hey, no, he's not going anywhere. And that was huge for my mental to start off.
Sure.
And then, you know, the rest was really history. But Coach Martin got there in the spring of '08, I believe, and total culture shock for everybody that was there.
Let's lay it down here. Let's lay it down because I was in Springfield at that time. So your first coach, he was this you know, obviously Caucasian male. I don't think he was really like aggressive, really. He seemed like one of those good old boys. You shake his, he loved everybody. He's happy, kind of a happy-go-lucky, but real good guy, though. I thought he was just a real good guy. Loved basketball, though. And then you go into your next year with Coach Quazzo, who was like, I think he's one like, he'll get it done my way, and that's it.
So I feel like Coach Henson and Coach Martin are very similar in these ways as far as how personable they are, really genuinely care like how you're doing as a person, not as their player. You know, they want to know how you're doing as a kid. The first thing Coach Martin and Coach Henson would always ask when they would call me on a Tuesday afternoon in the spring, you know, how's your mom? How's your dad? You know, in that sense, they were great. Like you said about Coach Henson, one of the most loved dudes you'll ever meet. I mean, always smile on his face. But when you were BSing on the court or in practice, he would get on you. At the same time, also would want you to enjoy college as a kid. He wanted you to have a good time. He wanted you to, when it's time to work. But at the same time, he understands you're in college. You're gonna have a good time. It is what it is. On the flip, Coach Martin was, you either have to do one or the other, if not both. Right. You cannot be a bad student and a bad player. Right. You know? Like either you're going to be the best student in the world and your game will slack, or you're going to be one of the best players in the conference and we're going to help you as much as we can, get you tutors, you know, we'll pick up the schoolwork and get you to where you need to be. Or in the perfect world, do both. And that's what I try to do. Yeah, no doubt. But that's awesome. Man, just the workouts, I mean, 2-on-2 full court, holding a 10-pound med ball out with your elbows completely locked with bands around your ankles, doing defensive slides the length of the court, slow, not fast. Wearing weight vests. Yep. I think he even fired our strength coach, and him and Coach Wood and Coach Harris were all taking turns doing our weights. So, you know, we're doing Russian twist with 45-pound plates on the floor. We're shrugging 90-pound dumbbells. I can't pick up 90-pound dumbbells. Like, I couldn't do a pull-up at the time, so I was having to hang and do negatives. I mean, it was just, I would go home, my elbows, my shoulders, like everything was inflamed. I could barely walk, but they literally broke us down and built that culture, that winning, tough culture from scratch. And to look back on, it's funny. We can laugh about it, but man, going through it those first, 3 weeks, and then we got a little break, and then coming back in the summer, I mean, it was brutal.
So I can't lie to. I came to those practices, and he's not lying, everybody. He is not lying.
Man,
y'all were broke, man. He loved those wall sits and stuff.
Oh,
and y'all would be there for a long time. I felt bad, bro.
Yeah, wall sits, lane slides. If I saw one more cone lined up on the lane lines, and I had to slide around them. Right. I don't know if I was gonna make it. I know there was multiple times, man, I won't lie, that I had to call my dad, like, yo, I don't know if I can do this. And he used to hang up the phone. You know, you're not coming back home, so you gotta stay there. And of course, you know, I'm glad because that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So that's a great topic to go to. Let's really talk about this. Like, I really want athletes to understand, like, the difference between high school and college. Like you work hard a certain level limit in high school, but when you go to college, I mean, talk about the challenges. Like Lily, it is. I felt that way too. There's days I really wanted to quit and go home. Like I don't even know how I can survive some of those like days. Crazy.
So to go back to Highland Park, like Coach, we used to have 3.5 hour, close to 4 hour practices. You know, the bleachers are pushed back. There's no fouls. There's no out of bounds. You know, we would run sprints in the rain as long as it wasn't lightning. You know, he wasn't putting us in any danger, but either you were going to be there and work or you weren't going to be a part of that program. So he installed that in me a little bit. But like you said, you think you're working in high school, and when you get to college and you start wearing the same gear as everybody else, you're not wearing your own workout stuff.
Yep.
And you start having that schedule, you know, here at this time, here at this time. Then you put the classes in with it, and there's nobody that's making you get up. Mom's not knocking on that door anymore. Dad's not driving you here. Like you have to put yourself on time on that schedule, and it's just different. And man, just the pushing yourself to the max in high school is nowhere near what a coach in college will push you to. It's right. You cannot compare it. You cannot compare it. And especially Coach Woodbury.
Yeah.
Coach Woodbury almost broke me a couple times. I wouldn't tell him that. But I wouldn't tell him that. He almost broke me a couple times, but I would at the time I could never let him know that. But no, and that's like we talked about earlier, that's just the tough love that you need. It's part of that growth, it's part of that process, but just that work ethic and just the overall, the will to get better is so much crazier in college than it is in high school.
I agree. Good stuff, man. So was that your junior year? No, your senior year.
Yep.
That's when you guys had that run with Conzo.
My junior year. Yep.
Let's talk about that. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about that because, as everybody knows, you went to Missouri State. And that program was, like you said, was kind of a 500 program when you first got there. You sat out your freshman year, and now you have gone into a new coach, overcome those first year, because that first year is always a pain, no matter anyone. I don't care, anyone from any sport, they got a coach in. That new coach comes in and tries to set a new precedent. Like they don't care what their experiences or background is. They come in and they change everything and try to put it down. So talk about that year, though. You finally got the team together, the chemistry. Like, what was it like playing with that team, and how did it feel to you? And then talk a little bit about the successes you had and why.
So my freshman year, we had 4 seniors, 4 freshmen. My redshirt freshman year, there was guys always hurt. You know, Coach Martin, I think he was driving this Escalade out to Oregon, to LA, coming back. Coach Wood was all over the country recruiting. Coach Harris, they were everywhere trying to find players to go with a couple of the core guys that we have, including myself. Mm-hmm. We went 11-20. You saw some of the young pieces, but obviously it was disappointing how the seniors ended. We got a couple great junior college guys, Jermaine Mallett and Nafis Ricks, who I'm still brothers with to this day, but they really came in without an ego. And, you know, a lot of people, you hear these bad reps for JUCO guys, and I don't think that that's always the case. And we were blessed that they found 2 great character guys that only had 2 years of play, but they definitely hit it head on, and that was perfect for our team because they were more mature physically and mentally. Jermaine a little bit more so than Feast, but Feast when he grasped it, man, he was so special because he was the anchor for our team. And then we also had some transfers like Will Creekmore from Boston. We had Adam Leonard from Western Kentucky who played in a 1-16 matchup in the NCAA tournament against Tyler Hansborough and that championship Carolina team. So, you know, now you start to see a couple of these pieces, and then we had some freshmen that could kind of contribute. But my sophomore year, we went 24-12, and we won the CIT. And, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, you're playing in the CIT. Like, you know, what is that? Well, it was an extra 4 weeks for us to get good practices. It was an extra 4 games for us to play in front of our fans. Right. It was, you know, it was just another month of the season that we took serious. And I think it really benefited us because not a lot of teams, there's only a couple teams in the country, the NIT winner and the NCAA winner, that end the year on a win. Right. And we were one of them. So we took that momentum into the summer, man, and we just worked. We would put on our own workouts. We when we would do sprints outside, it'd be 4 in the afternoon, but we're competing. You know, where everybody wanted to be on that max lift board for squats, for hang cleans, for bench press. Like everything was competitive. Right. So then when that ball jumped up in October, we already knew what it was. And man, it was just from top to bottom. I mean, the way that Coach Martin had the assistants on the same page, the way that the assistants had the ops guy on the same page with him, the way that they broke down film, the way that they had us prepare for games, the way that we absorbed everything that they were giving us, you know, the game plans, and then just our toughness. We would just out-tough people. You know, we lost a couple games that we shouldn't have lost, like at Oklahoma State. I think they were a bubble team that year. And Northern Iowa at home, we should have won that game. But we won at, you know, the top 3 schools in the Valley that year, at Creighton, at Wichita, at Northern Iowa. And that had never been done, I don't believe so, in Missouri State history. So
Wichita State game was fire, brother. That was it.
Yeah. It was definitely special. It was definitely special. So, but man, it was just a fun group to be a part of, man. Everybody just put left their own ego at the door and put the team first, including the coaching staff. And it was a great year, man.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people just don't know about the Missouri Valley, but at that time, Wichita State was part of the Missouri Valley Conference. They're no longer a part of that, but aren't they the Big East or something now or something?
AAC, yeah, the old, it's like the new, not the new Big East, it's the old Big East, but a lot of those teams went there. Yep. Creighton was in there. Now they're in the new Big East with the Catholic 7. Yep.
So the Missouri Valley was no joke. Man, I mean, they were
tough.
Balling, yeah. So what I want to ask so talk about, so this is what I want people to understand. You can work your butt off. You can do everything in your power you can do to be and put yourself in a situation to be where you should be. Talk about that and how it ended at the tournament for you guys that year.
Man,
I thought,
yeah, we were rolling. We were rolling. I think we won the last regular season game of the year in a do-or-die game against Wichita. Fans rushed the court. We were on the biggest high of all time. I mean, the city was just a lot of excitement, and we were really looking forward to Arch Madness. It was the first time or second time that we were going to be the 1 seed. So in the grand scheme of things, it's an easier road.
Right.
You get that extra day of rest. You know, we had been in the playing game, you know, 2 years before, so we were excited. And I think we struggled the first game against the 8 or 9 seed Southern Illinois, and I was able to hit a game-winning floater that, you know, squeaked us by that round. Then the next round, we just out-toughed Greg McDermott and Creighton. I think we won by 10 or 12. And then the next round, we were playing.
Expected to win.
They were a good team that year. Yeah, they had an experienced team that year, and we kind of just hit them in the mouth and ended up making it to the finals. And then we played Indiana State, and they just had this dribble drive, dribble weave offense, and it makes you work.
Right.
We only went about 7, maybe 8 guys deep. You're playing your third game in 3 days, pretty much in 72 hours.
Takes a little time.
Yeah, and I didn't play well. I think I was 3 for 16. I don't think Adam shot very well. Jermaine shot it well. Creekmore missed some bunnies, but we were still right there. We always kept ourselves.